Psychologist Dr. Carl Jung said the world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, the world will tell you. A friend of mine said it's a fundamental contradiction where you're not being the person who you truly are. So I'm going to start making videos again about what I'm doing in health and in biohacking to stay in optimal health. So what's biohacking? Biohacking is changes that you make in your environment to compensate for the unnatural environment we now live in. And so just to make it clear, I'm still, after nearly 7 years, suspended in nutritional and environmental medicine. I'm not seeing patients outside hospital settings, but I still like to make these videos about what I'm doing to be healthy. So a couple of times a week I'm going to make a video about what I'm doing in the world of biohacking to stay healthy. I'll reproduce the scientific paper in the comment section below. It's a little strange because it's been a long time since I made a video like this, so I've forgotten how to string the words together to say what I want to say, but got to start sometime, so I'll start now. So the first paper I want to talk about, the first subject I want to talk about today is the circadian rhythm, because as you'll see in the quote that I provided at the start of the video, was the original biohack. First there was light and water and a circadian rhythm. So what's a circadian rhythm? The circadian rhythm is the 24-hour clock our bodies run on. They say that New York never sleeps. But if you've been to New York, and I've been to New York a couple of times, nobody's out shopping at 3 in the morning. What's happening what's happening in New York at 3 in the morning is all the rubbish collectors and all the people who are getting the city ready for the next day are going through and doing their work. And if they normally go through at 3 in the morning, but they get their clocks wrong and they're going through in 3 in the afternoon, what happens? Well, it's utter chaos. The same thing happens in our bodies if our organ systems, our brains, our adrenal glands, if our thyroid gland, if our digestive system is confused about what time of the day it is, then we get biochemical and hormonal chaos. So where is the clock in our body? And the main clock is in what's called our suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is in the anterior hypothalamus of the brain. As Tolkien would say, it's the one clock to rule them all. And how does that clock in our brain set its time? Well, it resets its time every day by what? From the light cycle. And so what I'm doing at the beach now is I'm down setting my clock for the day, so my body knows what time it is. It knows what time to secrete my testosterone levels, to secrete stomach acid, to all the things that are going on in my body that I don't even know about. So the circadian clock is set in my body by the light falling on my eyes. It falls on the retina of my eyes. The information from the light cycle is conveyed to my brain through the optic nerves in the anterior hypothalamus, which sits just above those optic nerves. And ultimately the information goes to the pineal gland. And the pineal gland secretes some or a lot of my melatonin, which is my sleep hormone. My mitochondria, the 1 quadrillion mitochondria in my body, also secrete melatonin, but a lot of it comes from the pineal gland, and it gets that information from the light cycle falling on my retina. So if I'm not seeing that red light in the morning, you can see how red it is, my brain gets a different time set, a different clock. My watch is not running correctly, so nothing happens at the right time. It's called in science, it's called a phase shift. My clock gets put forward or backwards a few hours, depending on the light cycle. So one of the most important things I do is get up, or try and get up every morning and see the sunrise to make sure my clock is set correctly and I don't get a phase shift. That means everything happens in my body at the right time, because we now know that every organ, in fact every cell in our body, has its own clock, but it gets its information from about what time it is from the suprachiasmatic nucleus in my hypothalamus. And when I see the sunrise, it tells my pineal gland and my mitochondria to start producing melatonin. Not secreting melatonin, but producing it. They start secreting the melatonin when I see the sunset at night, because that light is rich in red light, which communicates to my brain. So if I'm getting exposed to artificial light during those times, or after those times, then it'll cause a phase shift. So just like if the rubbish collectors in New York City are coming through New York in 3 in the afternoon rather than 3 in the morning, there'll be chaos in my body. And what does melatonin do in the body? Well, everybody knows that melatonin puts you to sleep and keeps you asleep, but also has a very important role in what's called apoptosis, which is death of cells, and together with vitamin D, which, surprise, surprise, also comes from sunlight. One of the things that melatonin does is it kills cancer cells. So it's a very, very important part of our cancer prevention strategy. So I want to maximize my melatonin production, particularly at night. So it goes around and does apoptosis of cancer cells, but it also clears out damaged brain cells. So it kind of cleans my brain as well while I sleep. And the second thing that I do that I'm on the beach for my health is I go for a swim. And I like to particularly go for a swim in cold water, which is called cold thermogenesis. And there was some research out recently showing some of the benefits of cold thermogenesis. And one of those was apoptosis and autophagy, much the same as melatonin. So this study took a number of people and they put them in cold water every day. And what they found over time was two things. The first thing, there was a increase in autophagy. Autophagy is the repair of cells. They took damaged proteins and damaged cells and repaired them to give the body more resilience and strength. So it increased autophagy, but at the expense of apoptosis. So there was much more increasing the resilience of the cells by recycling and repairing damaged proteins, and less emphasis on killing cells. And the second thing they found was that there was a decrease in lactate levels. Lactate level is a product of anaerobic metabolism, which is where our cells run without oxygen and produce a lot less energy than aerobic metabolism, where it uses oxygen to produce much more ATP from our mitochondria. So lactate levels went down with cold thermogenesis as our body got better at anaerobic metabolism, using oxygen to provide a lot more energy for us. So in summary, with the cold thermogenesis, you got increased resilience by recycling damaged proteins and repairing cells with less emphasis on killing cells, and you got a much more efficient metabolism by optimizing aerobic metabolism, watch out for the jellyfish, aerobic metabolism with oxygen, and less need for anaerobic metabolism, which is metabolism without using oxygen, which is a lot less efficient energy production. So that's it for my first one back for a few years. It's a bit rough, but that's what they're going to be. It's not going to be AI generated or fancy special effects, just going to be me walking on the beach or beside a river, involving light and water. First there was light and water in circadian rhythms, and still light, water and circadian rhythms. So thanks for listening. Hit the like button and subscribe if you enjoyed this. It means the information gets shared more. And as Navy SEAL Marcus Luttrell said in the movie Lone Survivor, no matter how much it hurts, how dark it gets, or how far you fall, you are never out of the fight.